Ladies and gentlemen, I announce the President of the United States of America, William Jefferson Clinton, and I present the President of Princeton University, Harold Taffler Shapiro, who will preside at this, the university's 249th commencement. President Shapiro.
The invocation will be pronounced by Dean Williamson. Dean Williamson.
Please join me in the spirit of prayer. Holy God, sacred fire, we discover you in chaos and in creation, in darkness and in light, in righteous anger and in gracious love. You live in the contradictions, and you invite us into the conflicts. You dare us to risk ourselves for justice and for peace. You require us to be stewards of creation in the midst of apathy and waste. You lure us into your love. In this year of Princeton's 250th anniversary, may this commencement convocation be a ritual of renewal for all who graduate, for parents and loved ones, for teachers and trustees, for staff and administrators. So let us here and now renew our gratitude for the best of Princeton. Let this university be truly worthy of its tradition and of its endowment. Let us renew our loyalty to this nation and to the community of all nations. And let us renew our commitment to be people of compassion, people of service, people of hope. Amen.
Please be seated. It is my pleasure this morning, on behalf of Princeton University, to welcome all of you to this campus. We extend a very special welcome, of course, to President Bill Clinton, who will receive an honorary degree today and will address this gathering later on in the ceremony. President Clinton, we are honored by your presence and especially pleased that you could join us as Princeton celebrates its 250th anniversary. I would also like to extend warm greetings to families and friends who have gathered here to celebrate with the graduating seniors of the class of 1996 and with the recipients of advanced degrees from Princeton's graduate school. May I ask at this time that the parents, grandparents, and other family members and friends of today's graduating students, please rise and remain standing. All parents, grandparents, friends. Now I'd like to invite the graduates to join me once again in thanking those who have been so supportive of your efforts here. Thank you all very much, and welcome to Princeton campus. The Latin Salutatory will be delivered by Charles Parker Stoll, a senior from Maryland.
Neme damnatus, amici, quod non potestis intelligere, sum enim campos mentis, et salutare vos Latina lingua aptissimum judico, cum prope primum, quod multi nostrum didicerunt, dehis venerabilibus atriis, hoc sit. Dei subnumine vigit, non significat Deus Princetonii studuit. Sed si qui silorum cum quibus in hoc rostro sedeo dubitat, neque Yalii studuit Deus. Primum te saluto, praeses Clinton, gubernator magnae navis civitatis nostrae, dies est egregius, in quo lux et veritas denique ab Yalensi visae sunt, qui elegit vernam Princetonii auram inhalare, potius quam aliam auram. Deinde secundum praesidem in secundo loco nunc saluto, praeses noster Shapiro, gubernator huius hedera bene decoratae discendi navis. Curatores prudentes etiam, et professores doctissimos saluto, sine quibus nostra navis in portum pervenire non potuit. Salutamus nostros munificos parentes, qui non sperantes ut dicitur quid pro quo vecturam navigationi largiuntur. Parentes mei judicaverunt se pecuniam bene conlocare, cum cognovissent me grandiorem esse, quam Greco more in monte deserto exponerent. Nunc vos saluto, fratres et sorores, progenies nostrae secundae matris, ea est alma mater. Si fortasse soliti estis credere unam matrem satis superque esse, velem indicare nostram secundam matrem, non curare utram togas lavemus necne, ubi dormiamus, vel quantem caviciae burbamus. Alma mater femina est magnae eruditionis, duorum saeculorum et honorum, quinquaginta sapienta praedita. Iam magnum opus scripsimus, inquisitionis confecimus, et sicut Jerry Garcia, requiescat in pace, cantabat, nihil reliquum est, nisi ridere, ridere, ridere. Avete atque valete.
I would now like to introduce the University Provost, the Charles A. Young Professor of Astronomy and former Chair of the Department of Astrophysical Sciences, Jeremiah Ostreicher, who will introduce this year's winners of the Secondary Teacher Awards. Provost Ostreicher.
Each year at commencement, Princeton honors 4 outstanding teachers selected from the secondary schools of New Jersey. In so doing, we gratefully acknowledge the exceptional contributions of our colleagues who teach in the high schools. I would like at this time to recognize each teacher individually. And I hope that the audience will hold their recognition until all 4 teachers have been recognized. First, Franklin Garrett, Clearview High School, Malika Hill, for his ability to help students and colleagues design creative solutions in both art and life. Second, John Penna, Governor Livingston Regional High School, Berkeley Heights, for his gift of bringing clarity to difficult topics and laughter to his chemistry laboratory. Third, Richard Lawrence Peterson, Bloomfield High School, for his success in opening meaningful, productive avenues of life for his special needs students. And last, John Sowerman, Lawrenceville School, for his way of teaching history, which invites students and colleagues to test their beliefs and enlarge their understanding. Please join me in recognizing these teachers' contributions.
Let me introduce at this time the Dean of the College and Professor in the Department of History, Nancy Weiss-Malkiel, who will present the candidates for undergraduate degrees. Dean Malkiel.
At this time, we recognize each undergraduate who has qualified for Princeton University's bachelor's degree. Let me remind you at the outset that your diplomas and honors certificates can be picked up on Alexander Beach behind Alexander Hall at the conclusion of these exercises. We begin with the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts. Before presenting you to President Shapiro and to the trustees for the awarding of your degrees, I will introduce you informally, department by department. Please stand in place as your department is named. And I ask your families, classmates, and friends to withhold their applause until all undergraduates in each group have been introduced. First, I should like to invite the members of the following departments to stand: English, Art and Archaeology, the School of Architecture, and Music. Please be seated. And now the members of these departments: Classics, Comparative Literature, Romance Languages and Literatures, Germanic Languages and Literatures, Slavic Languages and Literatures, East Asian Studies, Near Eastern Studies, and the Independent Concentration Program. Please be seated. We turn next to the departments of Philosophy, Religion, and History. Please be seated. I'd like now to ask undergraduate members of these departments to rise. Politics, and the Woodrow Wilson School of Public and International Affairs. Please be seated. And now those in economics, sociology, and anthropology. Please be seated. Will seniors in these departments please stand? Ecology and evolutionary biology and molecular biology. Please be seated. And finally, I wish to introduce the seniors receiving Bachelor of Arts degrees in physics, mathematics, astrophysical sciences, computer science, chemistry, geological and geophysical sciences, and psychology. Please be seated. At this time, all candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts are invited to stand together. Mr. President, I have the honor to present to you and your fellow trustees the candidates standing before you and the other candidates duly certified to you who have completed the scholastic requirements for the degree of Bachelor of Arts.
Auctoritate mihi et curatoribus Universitatis Princetonensis commissa, vos ad gradum premium in artibus et cum honoribus unid academies admitto. Congratulations.
Please take your seats. At this time, we recognize each undergraduate who has qualified for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Engineering. Once again, I will invite you to stand in place as your department is named, and I will ask your families, classmates, and friends to hold their applause until your degrees have been conferred. I invite Bachelor of Science in Engineering candidates in the following departments to rise: Chemical Engineering, Civil Engineering and Operations Research, Computer Science, Electrical Engineering, and Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering. Mr. President, I have the honor to present to you and your fellow trustees the candidates standing before you and the other candidates duly certified to you who have completed the scholastic requirements for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Engineering.
Auctoritate mihi et curatoribus Universitatis Princetonensis commissa, vos ad gradum premium in scientiae signariis, et cum honoribus ut in academies admitto. Congratulations.
Please take your seats. I should like finally to invite the entire class of 1996, 1,107 strong, to rise as a body. Artists, writers, scholars, athletes, campus leaders, community volunteers, recipients of honors, certificates, and prizes, members of honor societies, winners of fellowships, you have put your imprint on this university, and you leave with our warmest congratulations.
Thank you. Please be seated. The valedictory oration will be delivered by Brian Patrick Duff, a senior from Florida.
President Shapiro, President Clinton, family, friends, and fellow graduates, good morning. When I graduated from high school, I was one among 18 seniors. And because my class was so small, I received a lot of personal attention from my teachers. And it was at my little high school that I first understood the concept of a mentor. And once I had a sense of what a mentor could do, I knew that Princeton was where I wanted to continue my education. Thanks to the precept system, and thanks also to independent work under faculty guidance, mentoring was built right into the Princeton system. And even if we weren't mentored by a professor or graduate student, we could turn to coaches, chaplains, or upper-class advisors. In my experience, what's so satisfying about being on the receiving end of mentoring is not the facts that you acquire. You can get those from books. The real payoff is that the mentor empowers you to acquire facts on your own. As the old saying goes, give someone a fish and you feed the person for a day, but teach someone how to fish and you feed the person for life. Mentors not only give you a model for how to fish, but they let you choose what to fish for. In other words, they don't impose personal agendas on you. Instead, they respect your ideas and help you discover their potential. For the protege, knowing that the mentor makes you a priority is a source of self-confidence and an impetus to push yourself beyond self-imposed limits. But the benefits don't just flow from mentor to student. As some of you may have found while tutoring, a mentor can gain new slants on old issues. The close give and take with the student means that the student's unique experience and perspective gets expressed. And as the mentor tries to relate to that experience, she or he may discover productive analogies that never occurred to them before. Along with this intellectual benefit come more personal rewards. Just as parents take pride in their children, mentors take pride in their students. They share in the success of their proteges without jealousy or competition. They feel joy and the satisfaction of knowing that they had something to do with those successes. It's tempting to try to step back from the mentoring issue and make a more far-reaching point, but I realize that on a day like this, a sweeping theme might dissipate like a mist, refreshing for a moment or two, but soon gone. My point is specific, and I hope modest enough that you can stick it in your pocket and take it home with you. In the next few years, and for the rest of our lives, we will have the chance to mentor people, students, players, people in our offices, and children in our families and communities. Teaching them how to fish, instead of just handing them the fish, will take patience and commitment. Mentoring is a big investment, and I've only had time to scratch the surface of what both parties gain from it. But mentoring is a deep and satisfying relationship, and we have the rest of our lives to explore it. Goodbye and good luck.
At this time, I would like to introduce Dean of the Graduate School and the Agate Brown George L. Collard Professor of Religion, John Wilson, who will present the candidates for advanced degrees. Dean Wilson.
As many of the candidates for master's degrees as are present, please rise in their places. Mr. President, I have the honor to present to you and your fellow trustees the candidates standing before you and the other candidates duly certified who have completed the scholastic requirements for the degrees of Master of Arts, Master of Fine Arts, Master of Arts in Near Eastern Studies, Master of Arts in Russian Studies, Master of Architecture, Master in Public Affairs, Master in Public Affairs and Urban and Regional Planning, Master of Science, Master of Science in Engineering.
Auctoritate mihi et curatoribus, Universitates Brigatoniensis commissa, vos ad gradum secundum, vel in artibus elegantibus, vel in asium criteriorum pertinentibus, vel in studiis Rusiis, vel in architectura, vel in urbium designatona, vel in rebus publicis et urbium designatona, vel in scientiis, vel in studiis ignariis et middle. Congratulations to you.
Please be seated. As many of the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy as are present will rise in their places. Mr. President, I have the honor to present to you and your fellow trustees the candidates standing before you and the other candidates duly certified to you who have completed the scholastic requirements for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy.
Auctoritate mihi et curatoribus Universitatis Princetoniensis commissa, vos ad gradum doctoris in philosophia admitto. Congratulations to you. Thank you. Let me just take an extra moment to say that the Doctor of Philosophy, the PhD, is the highest academic degree awarded, marking an original and independent contribution to the world of scholarship. And I'm especially pleased to congratulate once again today's recipients of the PhD degrees. Congratulations and good luck to all of you. It is now a very special pleasure for me to confer the President's Awards for Distinguished Teaching. I want to thank Lloyd E. Coatson of the class of 1950 and John J. F. Sherrod of the class of 1952, both charter trustees, for their endowment of these awards, which enables us to honor today 4 members of our faculty for a sustained record of excellence in teaching at both the undergraduate and graduate levels. Dean of the Faculty and Lawrence S. Rockefeller University Professor of Politics, Amy Gutman, will introduce each award winner. Dean Gutman.
It's my honor now to introduce each of my colleagues, 4 great teacher scholars individually. David P. Billington, Professor of Civil Engineering and Operations Research, unites aesthetics and technology in his work, teaching both engineers and humanists to appreciate the elegance of bridge and skyscraper. James W. Rankin, Senior Lecturer in Germanic Languages and Literatures, creates an extraordinary atmosphere for learning through technological innovation and personal commitment, and teaches his graduate student assistants how to achieve the same success. Shirley M. Tillman, Howard A. Pryor Professor in the Life Sciences and Professor of Molecular Biology, excels in every area of the teacher's art: the organization and leadership of a scientific enterprise, the careful mentoring of students at all levels, the development of creative new courses, and the generous exercise of university citizenship. David T. Wilkinson, Cyrus Fogg Brackett Professor of Physics and founding chair of the Council of Science and Technology, has gloriously accomplished his mission to improve science education for non-scientists at Princeton, and excites everyone he meets, from elementary school children to faculty colleagues, about the science he loves. Please join me in recognizing the contributions of these superb faculty members to the vitality of Princeton's essential teaching mission. Members of the faculty and staff who retire from Princeton this year are recognized in the Commencement program. The university is grateful to each of them for their commitment to the university's mission and their contributions to the Princeton community. Please join me in expressing our appreciation to all of them.
The University Orator, Robert H. Rawson, class of 1966, will now present the candidates for honorary degrees.
Mr. President, I have the honor to present to you for the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa, William Jefferson Clinton. Named for Jefferson, raised after Roosevelt, touched by Kennedy, our first baby boom president was born not in privilege, but in hope. And he has never lost that native optimism or that vision of a better tomorrow. Eloquent and thoughtful, famously empathetic, indefatigable, and resilient, he is at once master of both politics and policy. Inquisitive, imaginative, and unafraid of new ideas, he uses his experience to refine his course of action, pressing ever forward, teaching our nation to do the same. In this, its 250th year, Princeton is privileged to honor a citizen who has given a lifetime of service in 1/5 that time. Mr. President, President Clinton.
Auctoritate mihi et curatoribus, Universitatis Princetoniensis commissa, te et gradum doctoris in legibus honoris causa admittum.
Mr. President, I have the honor to present to you for the degree of Doctor of Science, honoris causa, Robert May. With the physicist's mathematical eye, he discerned how simple functions can behave in complex ways, and thus how animal populations can veer from steady state to random fluctuations. A champion of biodiversity, he has modeled the chaotic rhythms of life from the spread of AIDS to the recovery of black-footed ferrets. Having introduced chaos into ecology, he has brought order to university research and is working now to assure the long-term stability of the scientific and technological research on which prosperity depends. Mr. President, Sir Robert May.
Auctoritate mihi et curatoribus, Universitatis Princetoniensis commissa, te et gradum doctoris inscientiis honoris causa admittum.
Mr. President, I have the honor to present to you George Miller for the degree of Doctor of Science, honoris causa. Applying new theories of information and computation to language and perception, he opened the way to the mind's new sciences of psycholinguistics and cognitive psychology. Putting theoretical linguistics to experimental test, he traced the processes by which we link words to concepts, organizing the world in a mental lexicon that gives rise to the infinite possibilities of language. He has patiently and painstakingly modeled the intricate web that constitutes the mind's dictionary, providing both a tool for research and a resource for literacy in an online world. Mr. President, Professor Miller.
Auctoritate mihi et curatoribus, Universitatis Princetoniensis commissa, te et gradum doctoris inscientiis honoris causa admittum.
Mr. President, I have the honor to present to you the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, Ruth Simmons. Great-great-granddaughter of slaves, now president of Smith College. No obvious path connected those two worlds. When asked, she attributes her success to the support of a large, loving family, to teachers and mentors along the way, and to her own hunger to learn. When we, on the other hand, are asked about her success, we cite her remarkable qualities of insight, integrity, and intensity. She has blazed a trail that leads higher education and society as a whole to enriched opportunities. Mr. President, President Simmons.
Auctoritati mihi et curatoribus Universitatis Princetoniensis commissa te et gradum doctoris in legibus honoris causa admitto. Ruth.
Mr. President, I have the honor to present to you for the degree of Doctor of Fine Arts, honoris causa, Toshiko Takaezu. An artist of exceptional gifts, she has created objects in which the ancient craft traditions of Asian ceramics are fused with a wholly original modern sensibility. Moving pottery beyond the utilitarian to the purely sculptural, her work has brought her worldwide recognition and taught us to see new forms and colors. Generous and inspiring teacher, mentor, and role model, she has encouraged generations of Princeton students to use their creative powers not only to mold and sculpt clay, but also to shape and center their lives. Mr. President, Ms. Takaezu.
Auctoritati mihi et curatoribus Universitatis Princetoniensis commissa te et gradum doctoris in artibus elegantibus honoris causa admitto.
Finally, Mr. President, I have the honor to present to you Leroy Walker for the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa. A 100 years ago, Princeton faculty and students played an instrumental role in making the modern Olympics. In this anniversary year, we recognize this President of the United States Olympic Committee, who has brought from Athens to Atlanta the understanding that athletics is a part of culture and a mark of civilization. As leader of an academic institution, he taught students to apply the Olympians' focused force of intellect and spirit to academic fields. Athlete, scholar, teacher, coach, he reminds us that the gymnasium's heritage includes its place as a locus of Socratic dialogue. Mr. President, Dr. Walker.
Auctoritati mihi et curatoribus Universitatis Princetoniensis commissa te et gradum doctoris in legibus honoris causa admitto. The tradition of U.S. presidents participating in major Princeton commencements and convocations dates back to before there were U.S. presidents. Let me explain. In 1783, while Nassau Hall was serving as the capital of the newly independent nation, George Washington attended commencement, which in those days took place in September. In 1864, as the Civil War was coming to an end, Princeton presented Abraham Lincoln with the third and last honorary degree he would receive, which, contrary to recent tradition, he was permitted to accept in absentia. Today, we have here before us a very special guest. But let me first complete the history. In 1896, President Grover Cleveland spoke at Princeton's sesquicentennial and liked the community so much that he retired here the following spring, and several years later became an active Princeton trustee for the remaining years of his life. In 1946, Harry Truman, a Democratic president from a state just north of Arkansas, spoke at the convocation that brought Princeton's bicentennial to a close. Today, we are in the middle of celebrating Princeton's 250th anniversary, and we are again privileged and honored to welcome a president to our campus and into the fold of honorary Princetonians. Like any president, he honors us through the majesty of his office. But unlike any other president, Bill Clinton is the first Rhodes Scholar elected to the Oval Office, and he exhibits a passion for learning, an affinity for the life of the mind, and a deep-seated commitment to such values as democracy and service and community, all characteristics that make him very much at home on a university campus. On a number of occasions during his presidency, he has called upon members of our faculty and others associated with Princeton to counsel with him, to serve him, to challenge him. And they are all struck without exception by the keenness of his intellect, his appetite for knowledge, and his determination to make the world a better place for all of its people. It is a Princeton tradition that commencement end with remarks by the president. In most years, you would have to settle for what I had to say. But in this 250th anniversary year, I am pleased to be able to present the President of the United States, William Jefferson Clinton. President Clinton.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. President Shapiro, members of the faculty, alumni, the parents and friends of this graduating class, especially to the graduates of the class of 1996, let me thank your co-presidents, George Whitesides and Susan Sue, who came to say hello to me this morning, and compliment your valedictory address by Brian Duff and the Latin address by Charles Stowall. I actually took 4 years of Latin in high school, and even without being prompted, I knew I was supposed to laugh when he was digging me about going to Yale. I want to also thank Princeton for honoring the high school teachers and the faculty members here for teaching. For today we celebrate the learning of the graduates, and we should be honoring the teachers who made their learning possible. I thank you for that. It's a great honor to be here and celebrating Princeton's 250 years. I understand that presidents are only invited to speak here once every 50 years. President Truman and President Cleveland, you got to say one thing: for all the troubles the Democrats have had in the 20th century, we've had pretty good timing when it comes to Princeton over the last 100 years. And I
I want to thank President Shapiro for his distinguished service to higher education in our country. I thank Princeton for its long and noble service to our nation. I also am deeply indebted to Princeton for the contributions it has made to our administration and to my presidency. My press secretary, Mike McCurry, sat in these seats in 1976. I'm sure that Princeton had something to do with the fact that he not only thinks but talks so fast. The chair of our National Economic Council, Laura Tyson, was a Princeton professor then and Mike McCurry's thesis advisor, and you got back from me Professor Alan Blinder, who was a distinguished member of the Council of Economic Advisors and the vice chairman of the Federal Reserve and a brilliant contributor to our efforts to improve the economy. I want to thank Alan Blinder here among his colleagues and his students for what he has done. I thank Tony Lake and Bruce Reed and John Hilley and Peter Bass, all members of our staff who graduated from Princeton. Two Princeton graduates who are no longer living, Vic Razor and his son Monty, were great friends of mine. Vic's wife Molly is here, our protocol chief, and if it hadn't been for him, I might not be here today, and I want to recognize their contributions to Princeton and Princeton's gifts to them. I also want to say that one of my youngest staff members is a classmate here, John Orsak. And when the ceremony's over, I'd like to have you back at work, please. I would like to talk to the senior class today about not only the importance of your education, but the importance of everyone else's education to your future. At every pivotal moment in American history, Princeton, its leadership, its students have played a crucial role. Many of our founding fathers were among your first sons. A president of Princeton was the only university president to sign the Declaration of Independence. This hall was occupied by the British in 1776, liberated by Washington's army in 1777, and as the president said, sanctified forever to American history by the deliberations of the Continental Congress in 1783. In 1896, the last time there was a class of 96, when Princeton celebrated its 150th anniversary, and as has been said, Grover Cleveland was president, Professor Woodrow Wilson gave his very famous speech, Princeton in the Nation's Service. I read that speech before I came here today, and I'd like to read just a brief quote from it. Today we must stand as those who would count their force for the future. Those who made Princeton are dead. Those who shall keep it and better it still live. They are even ourselves. What he said about Princeton 100 years ago applied then to America and applies to America even more today. At the time of that speech 100 years ago, America was living, as it is living today, through a period of enormous change. The industrial age brought incredible new opportunities and great new challenges to our people. Princeton, through Wilson and his contemporaries, was at the center of efforts to master these powerful forces of change in a way that would enable all Americans to benefit from them and protect our time-honored values. Less than 3 years after he left this campus, Woodrow Wilson became President of the United States. He followed Theodore Roosevelt as the leader of America's response to that time of change. We now know it as the Progressive Era. Today, on the edge of a new century, all of you, our class of '96, are living through another time of great change, standing on the threshold of a new progressive era. Powerful forces are changing forever our jobs, our neighborhoods, the institutions which shape our lives. For many Americans, this is a time of enormous opportunity, but for others, it's a time of profound insecurity. They wonder whether their old skills and their enduring values will be enough to keep up with the challenges of this new age. In 1996, like 1896, we really do stand at the dawn of a profoundly new era. I have called it the age of possibility. Because of the revolution in information and technology and market capitalism sweeping the globe, a world no longer divided by the Cold War. Just consider this. There's more computer power in a Ford Taurus every one of you can buy and drive to the supermarket than there was in Apollo 11 when Neil Armstrong took it to the moon. Nobody who wasn't a high-energy physicist had even heard of the World Wide Web when I became president, and now even my cat Socks has his own page. By the time a child born today is old enough to read, over 100 million people will be on the internet. This age of possibility means that more Americans than ever before will be able to live out their dreams. Indeed, for all of you in the class of '96, this age of possibility is actually an age of high probability, in large measure because of the excellent education you celebrate today. But we know that not all Americans see the future that way. We know that about half of our people in this increasingly global economy are working harder and harder without making any more money, that about half of the people who lose their jobs today don't ever find another job doing as well as they were doing in their previous one. We know that, therefore, our mission today must be to ensure that all of our people have the opportunity to live out their dreams in a nation that remains the world's strongest force for peace and freedom, for prosperity, for our commitment that we can respect our diversity and still find unity. This is about more than money. Opportunity is what defines this country. For 220 years, the idea of opportunity for all and the freedom to seize it have literally been the defining elements of America. They were always ideals, never perfectly realized, but always our history has been a steady march of striving to live up to them. Having these ideals achievable, imaginable for all, is an important part of maintaining our sense of democracy and our ability to forge an American community with such disparate elements of race and religion and ethnicity across so many borders that could so easily divide this country. And so I say to you, creating opportunity for all, the opportunity that everyone has, that many of you are now exercising, dreaming about your future, that is what you must do in order to make sure that this age of possibility is really that for all Americans. When I took office, I was concerned about the uncertain steps our country was taking toward that future. We'd let our deficit get out of hand. Unemployment had exploded. Job growth was the slowest since the Great Depression. The country seemed to be coming apart when we needed desperately to be coming together. I wanted to chart a new course, rooted first in growth and opportunity. First, to put our economic house in order so that our businesses could prosper and create jobs. Second, to tap the full potential of the new global economy. Third, to invest in our people so that they would have the capacity to meet the demands of this new age and to improve their own lives. This strategy is in place and it is working. The deficit is half of what it was. The government is now the smallest it's been in 30 years. As a percentage of the federal workforce, the federal government's the smallest it's been since 1933, before the beginning of the New Deal. We signed over 200 trade agreements. Our exports are at an all-time high. 15 million of our hardest pressed people have gotten tax cuts. Most of the small businesses have as well. We've invested in research and defense transformations. We've invested in new technologies, and we've invested in environmental protection and sustainable development. And I will say parenthetically, the great challenge of your age will be to prove that we can bring prosperity and opportunity to people all across the globe without destroying the environment, which is the precondition of our successful existence. And all of you will have to meet that challenge, and I challenge you to do it. Our economy, while most of the rest of the world was in recession, has produced 8.5 million new jobs, the lowest combined rates of inflation, unemployment, and home mortgages in 3 decades, the lowest deficit as a percentage of our income of any advanced economy in the world, 3.7 million more American homeowners, and record numbers of new small businesses in each of the last 3 years. We are doing well, but we must do better if we are going to make the promise of this new age real to all Americans. That means we have to grow faster. How fast can we grow? No one knows the exact answer to that. But if we look at the long term, if we believe in our people and invest in them and their opportunities, and our people take responsibility, the sky is the limit. We must look with the greatest skepticism toward those who promise easy and quick solutions. We know that the course that leads to long-term growth is in the minds and spirits and ideas, and discipline and effort of people like those of you who graduate here today. We are on the right course. We must accelerate it, not veer from it. We have to finish the job we started in 1993 and balance the budget, not only because we want to free you and your children of the legacy of debt, but because that will keep interest rates down, increase savings, expand companies, start new small businesses, help more families buy a home, and more parents send their children to college. We know we have to continue the fight for fair and open trade because we've proved now if other markets are as open to our products and services as we are to theirs, we'll do just fine. We know we have to do more to help all Americans deal with the economic changes of the present day in a more positive way by investing in the future and targeting tax cuts to help Americans deal with their own problems and build strong families. We know we have to continue to invest in the things that a government needs to invest in, including research and development and technology and environmental protection. We know that since so many people will have to change jobs more often than in the past, we have to give families the security that know if they change jobs, they can still carry with them access to health care and pensions and education for a lifetime. But finally, and most importantly, if we really want Americans, all Americans, to participate in the future that is now at your fingertips, we have got to increase the quality and the level of education, not just for the graduates of Princeton and Georgetown and Yale and the state universities of this country, but for all the American people. It is the only way to achieve that goal. The very fact that we have been here, or our forebears have, for 250 years, is testimony to the elemental truth that education has always been important to individual Americans. And for quite a long time, education has been quite important to our whole country. 50 years ago, when the class of 46 was here, coming in after World War II, the GI Bill helped to build a great American middle class and a great American economy. But today, more than ever before in the history of the United States, education is the fault line, the great continental divide between those who will prosper and those who will not in the new economy. If you look at the census data, you can see what happens to hardworking people who have a high school diploma or who drop out of high school and try to keep up in the job market but fall further and further behind. You can also see that if all Americans have access to education, it is no longer a fault line, it is a sturdy bridge that will lead us all together from the old economy to the new. Now, we have to work to give every American that kind of opportunity. And we've worked hard to do it, from increasing preschool opportunities to improving the public school years, to increasing technology in our schools. This spring, the Vice President and I helped to kick off a Net Day in California where schools and businesses and civic leaders hooked up nearly 50% of the schools to the internet in a single weekend. What I want to see is every school room and every library and every school in America hooked up to the internet by the end of the year 2000. We can do that. And I am very proud. Thank you. I am very proud that I was asked to announce today that a coalition of high-tech companies, parents, teachers, and students are launching Net Day New Jersey this week to connect over 1,000 schools in New Jersey to the internet by this time next year. That will make a huge difference in making learning more democratic and information more accessible in this country. I thank them for that, every single person in New Jersey who will be a part of that. But we have to face the fact that that is not enough. We have to do more. Just consider the last 100 years. At the turn of the century, the progressives made it the law of the land for every child to be in school. Before then, there was no such requirement. After World War II, we said 10 years are not enough. Public schools should extend to 12 years. And then, as I said, the GI Bill and college loans threw open the doors of college to the sons and daughters of farmers and factory workers. And they have powered our economy ever since. America knows that higher education is the key to the growth we need to lift our country, and today that is more true than ever. Just listen to these facts. Over half the new jobs created in the last 3 years have been managerial and professional jobs. The new jobs require higher level of skills. 15 years ago, the typical worker with a college degree made 38% more than a worker with a high school diploma. Today, that figure is 73% more. 2 years of college means a 20% increase in annual earnings. People who finish 2 years of college earn $250,000 more than their high school counterparts over a lifetime. Now, it is clear that America has the best higher education system in the world, and that it is a key to a successful future in the 21st century. It is also clear that because of costs and other factors, not all Americans have access to higher education. I want to say today that I believe the clear facts of this time make it imperative that our goal must be nothing less than to make the 13th and 14th years of education as universal to all Americans as the first 12 are today. We have put in place an unprecedented college opportunity strategy. Student loans can now be given directly to people who need them with a provision to repay them based on the ability of the graduate to pay, based on income. This is a dramatic change which is making loans more accessible to young people who did not have them before. AmeriCorps, which by next year will have given over 65,000 young people the chance to earn their way through college by serving their country in their communities. More Pell Grants, scholarships for deserving students every year. Now we want to go further. We want to expand work study so that 1 million students can work their way through college by the year 2000. We want to let people use money from their individual retirement accounts to help pay for college. We want every honor student in the top 5% of every high school class in America to get a $1,000 scholarship. And we also want to do some other things that I believe we must do to make 14 years of education the standard for every American. First, I have asked Congress to pass a $10,000 tax deduction to help families pay for the cost of all education after high school, $10,000 a year. Today, I announce one more element to complete our college strategy and make those 2 years of college as universal as 4 years of high school. A way to do it by giving families a tax credit targeted to achieve that goal and making clear that this opportunity requires responsibility to receive it. We should say to Americans who want to go to college, we will give you a tax credit to pay the cost of tuition at the average community college for your first year, or you can apply the same amount to the first year in a four-year university or college. We will give you the exact same cut for the second year, but only if you earn it by getting a B average the first year. A tax deduction for families to help them pay for education after high school, a tax credit for individuals to guarantee their first year of college and the second year if they earn it. This is not just for those individuals, this is for America. Your America will be stronger if all Americans have at least 2 years of higher education. Think of it. We're not only saying to children from very poor families who think they would never be able to go to college, people who may not have stellar academic records in high school, if you're willing to work hard and take a chance, you can at least go to your local community college, and we'll pay for the first year. If you're in your 20s and you're already working but you can't move ahead on a high school diploma, now you can go back to college. If you're a mother planning to go to work but you're afraid you don't have the skills to get a good job, you can go to college. If you're 40 and you're worried that you need more education to support your family, now you can go part-time, you can go at night. By all means, go to college, and we'll pay the tuition. I know this will work. When I was the governor of my home state, we created academic challenge scholarships that helped people who had good grades and who had good behavior to go to college. But my proposal today builds mostly on the enormously successful Hope Scholarships in Georgia, which guaranteed any student in the state of Georgia free college as long as they had a B average. This year, those scholarships are helping 80,000 students in the state of Georgia alone, including 70% of the freshman class at the University of Georgia. In recognition of Georgia's leadership, I have decided to call this proposal America's Hope Scholarships. And I want to thank the governor of Georgia, Zell Miller, who developed this idea. I also would like to recognize him. He came up here with me today, and thank him for the contribution that he is now going to make to all of America's future. Governor Miller, where are you? Would you please stand up? Here he is. Thank you. Thank you. Let me say, as all of you know, money doesn't grow on trees in Washington, and we're not financing deficits anymore. I'm proud to say, as a matter of fact, for the last 2 years, our budget has been in surplus except for the interest necessary to pay the debt run up in the several years before I became president. So we are doing our best to pay for these programs, and this program will be paid for by budgeted savings in the balanced budget plan. We cannot go back to the days of something for nothing or pretend that in order to invest in education, we have to sacrifice fiscal responsibility. Now, this program will do three things. It will open the doors of college opportunity to every American, regardless of their ability to pay. Education at the typical community college will now be free. In the very few states that have tuition above the amount that we can afford to credit, I would challenge those states to close the gap. We're going to take care of most of the states. The rest of them should help us the last little way. Second, it will offer free tuition and training to every adult willing to work for it. Nobody now needs to be stuck in a dead-end job or in unemployment. And finally, this plan will work because it will go to people who, by definition, are willing to work for it. It's America's most basic bargain. We'll help create opportunity if you will take responsibility. This is the basic bargain that has made us a great nation. I know that here at the reunion weekend, the class of 46 has celebrated its 50th reunion, and I want to just mention them one more time. Many members of the class of 46 fought in the Second World War, and they came home and laid down their arms and took up the responsibility of the future with the help of the GI Bill. That's when our nation did its part, simply by giving them the opportunity to make the most of their own lives. And in doing that, they made America's most golden years. The ultimate lesson of the class of 1946 will also apply to the class of 1996 in the 21st century. Because of the education you have, if America does well, you will do very well. If America is a good country to live in, you will be able to build a very good life. So I ask you never to be satisfied with an age of probability for only the sons and daughters of Princeton. You could go your own way in a society that, after all, seems so often to be coming apart instead of coming together. You will, of course, have the ability to succeed in a global economy, even if you have to secede from those Americans trapped in the old economy. But you should not walk away from our common purpose. Again, I will say this is about far more than economics and money. It is about preserving the quality of our democracy, the integrity of every person standing as an equal citizen before the law, the ability of our country to prove that no matter how diverse we get, we can still come together in shared community values to make each of our lives and our families' lives stronger and richer and better. This is about more than money. The older I get and the more I become aware that I have more yesterdays than tomorrows, the more I think that in our final hours, which all of us have to face, very rarely will we say, gosh, I wish I'd spent more time at the office, or if only I'd made just a little more money. But we will think about the dreams we lived out, the wonders we knew, when we were most fully alive. This is about giving every single solitary soul in this country the chance to be most fully alive. And if we do that, those of you who have this brilliant education, who have been gifted by God with great minds and strong bodies and hearts, you will do very well, and you will be very happy. In 1914, Woodrow Wilson wrote, as president, "The future is clear and bright with the promise of the best things. We are all in the same boat. We shall advance and advance together with a new spirit." I wish you well, and I pray that you will advance and advance together with a new spirit. God bless you, and God bless America.
Please be seated. President Clinton, thank you once again for honoring us with both your words and your presence here at this historic occasion for Princeton University. Thank you also for your long and steady support of higher education and for education for all Americans. But most of all, I want to thank you for your vision of hope and opportunity, and your vision for a better America for all of us. Thank you once again for joining us here today. At the conclusion of the benediction, guests are requested to remain in their places until the platform party and the degree candidates have left front campus and returned to Cannon Green. The benediction will be pronounced by Dean Gibson. Dean Gibson.
Let us pray. All gracious God, the world is beckoning and we are intrigued. The challenges are complex and we are reflective. The tasks are many and we are often overwhelmed. The peace is fragile and justice is often not well served. But God of life, your call is irresistible, your wisdom is sufficient, your being is right now, and your power is love. Therefore, our confidence is strong as we leave this place. O way-making God, guide our feet as we move with clear purpose into the sweet embrace of life. May our song be love, our dance faith, our drink hope. Bless us so that we may be people united in compassion and service. Amen.
Please stand for the singing of Old Nassau.
Every heart and every voice, bid every care withdraw. Let all with one accord rejoice in praise of old Nassau. In praise of old Nassau we sing hurrah, hurrah, hurrah. Our hearts will give while we shout.